Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Strange Ink Show. Woke writers, conscious writers. I don't want to confuse the term woke as we use it here in Strange Ink as being something different to what it is. When I say woke, I mean conscious. I mean awake in every way possible. And I hope you can relate, inshallah. So today's episode is going to be hopefully a nice reminder, as my daughter reminded me. So, and it is, why do you write, right? Bismillah. So, I'm not going to give you a whole reason why you should write. I'm not going to give you the whole like being a conscious writer, because that is important and I have said it in so many episodes, but this is going to be a reason that most of us don't feel entitled to use. And I really want to say that it's okay to write just for this reason. Sometimes things don't have to be so heavy and sometimes they can be lighthearted. So I had an experience with my daughter. She is 3 years old. May Allah protect, may Allah bless all of our children. I mean, so she did something which was so naughty. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember what she answered me. And she climbed onto, I think this is what she did because she does this quite often. She climbed onto something that she wanted to, that she wasn't supposed to, sorry. So she climbed on something she wasn't supposed to, and then she started opening the drawers, and then she took something from the drawer. I don't know what it was. I think it was like cereal or candy. It wasn't like the worst thing, but I said to her, why did you do that? Like, why did you do that? You know you're not supposed to climb up on there. That's just not very good. And then she looked at me and she said, because I want to. And by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, that's her voice saying your voice has power. So she said, because I want to. So just imagine that voice in that small voice. And I looked at her and I'm like, yeah, but... And then I realized, I'm like, okay, I mean... that's a good reason, right? And I remember thinking as I sat down to write a few times, thinking, why am I writing? You know, when those thoughts just come to you, the perfectionist, the procrastinator, the shame, the guilt, everything, right? Especially for us writers. And I remember thinking, why am I writing right now? I should be doing 100 other things. And it still comes, you know? And like I said, healing is a process and you can never be fully healed, especially in this life, right? So anyway, I remember sitting down and her words came to my mind. May Allah bless our teachers to be the best teachers. May Allah bless our children to be the best teachers to us parents. I mean, and I pray we can learn from them in a humble way. I mean, so anyway, she said that word, because I want to. And I remember sitting down and I said, why? Because I want to write with meaning, because I want to write consciously, because I want to give a message to the world, because I want to write as my legacy. But sometimes when you're in that moment, you just can't pull on that knowing, right? You know that's why you want to write. You know you want to write because you want to write your message. You want it to be something significant. You want it to be impactful. You want people to be positively touched by it, at least if you're writing as a woke writer, as a conscious writer, as a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want it to be a beautiful message, right? But sometimes them thoughts, they just aren't the kind of thoughts which come to us as we're having the negative thoughts, right? And that's when her words came to me. Why do I want to write? And I said to myself, because I want to. And I didn't give any reason after that. I didn't give any reason, because I want to, because I want to write, right? And if you listen to a previous episode on this, it's the rebel writer, having that sense of self within you, just knowing what you want to do and just knowing what is yours and knowing what is other people's, and just standing true to who you are, right? Because I want to. But that statement in itself, and the but is coming after, but just that statement in itself is so powerful, and it should be enough for us to write, because you want to. Why is what we want something that we have to fight to justify to ourselves? We do it so many times to other people. I want to do, do I have time to do this? Because I really want to, because it makes me feel like this, and etc. But, you know, because I want to is enough. Because I don't want to is enough, right? Because there's that inner part of you that just sometimes knows what you want. Anyway, right. Yeah. So anyway, I crack myself up sometimes. So anyway, back to my daughter. So another instance happened, and this enlightening feeling happened, like, oh my gosh, because I want to. So wise, right? So true. But then another instance happened where my other daughter took my daughter, who wants to do a lot of naughty things, right? She took her toy from her, and I went to her and I said to her, and I think she saw how amazed I was at my other daughter, and just saying, wow, that's a good reason you want to. That's a good reason. I'm not going to argue with that, right? But then she said, because I want to. I took a toy because I want to. So I looked at her and I thought, okay, there's another layer to this, obviously. And I said to her, I said, you know, just because you want to do something, to want something isn't a bad thing. It's important to know what you want, right? But to sometimes do everything that you want isn't always the best thing. Sometimes it could hurt people. Sometimes it could hurt yourself, you know? And I'm really talking to her, but I'm thinking it to myself. And I'm thinking sometimes wanting to do things and just doing them because you want to isn't reason enough to do them, especially if you're hurting somebody, especially if it's something that is negative that we are calling to, especially if we are calling to people seemingly to a good thing, but it's from a negative place, from an unhealed place, from a place that is that isn't as full as we claim it to be. Then sometimes because you want to isn't enough of a reason for you to do something, right? Because sometimes it's not the right thing to do, and that is something that we have to judge within ourselves. It's something that we reflect over. So it's not my place to say to anyone, hey, you can't do that because it's not the right thing to do, even though I can give them advice on this. But to demand someone to stop doing something, we can't make people do anything, right? We can't control people in that way, even if we feel like it's so true what we're saying, because control isn't always overtly. Sometimes it's covertly as well. Sometimes we might act passive aggressively because we want someone to stop doing something. Sometimes we might do things out of a place of resentment, or just not in a great place, right? But the point is that the only people that we can control and we can really understand what is here in our hearts is ourselves. So those are the people we should be focusing on the most, ourselves first. And sometimes when we say things like, I'm doing this because I want to, just also giving space to why you want to do that thing, and because wanting to do it because it makes me light up and it makes me a happy person, that's a good reason, right? But if it's because I want to kind of fill this hole that is within me, or I want to hurt that person, I want to really put them in their place, that's why I want to do it. If it's to hurt someone, or if it is to even hurt ourselves subconsciously, consciously, then it's important to question that one. So it's important to also understand that it's important to want things, and that is enough to want to do something. But it's also important to understand that just because we want to do something, it isn't always the right thing to do if it hurts somebody else and if it really hurts us. And when I say it hurts us, I mean it hurts our relationship with our Creator, because that is the most pain I think a person can feel, when that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cut. When you feel far away from Him, when you feel a veil upon our hearts, right? Because of something that we've done because we wanted to. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and to want is enough. To know why we want is an amazing thing as well. I was going to say something, try to think of something really profound to say, As you can probably tell, my mind went off somewhere, but it's not coming right now. You can fill the gap. To want is a good thing, right? To want the right thing is even better, right? Maybe that's how it should have been said. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you had a bit of a laugh with me. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. I hope you don't feel guilty for writing. I hope you love what you want, and I hope what you want loves you back fully, and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ameen. And yeah, enjoy and have a beautiful blessed day. Let's put our hands on our heart and say Bismillah, this beautiful affirmation: my voice has power. My voice has power. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Take care.